Hi guys, this one is for my friend Sebastian, who wanted to know how to do a cloud pour, so we're going to do a really basic pour. First of all, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using. I'm using really basic, cheap resin tints that I got a long time ago in a beginner's kit that I'm still using like 3 years later. They last forever. And I'm also going to use pinata white alcohol ink. And that's it. We're not putting anything special in this one, even though there are 3 pours. For this, I have used jdiction resin, and there's about 130 mils of resin in this pot, and I'm using a big pot because I want to show my friend Sebastian what happens when you leave the resin to rest a while. But for this first pour, we're keeping it simple, and we're just going to go straight away. And then with each next pour, we'll leave the resin just a little bit longer, just to see what happens with the results. So, I am portioning out the resin into 2 cups. I've put approximately 20 ml in each cup. And now we're just going to make up the colours. And we're going to start with the purple. And resin tints are made for resin, so you don't need a lot to get a decent colour. But I also wanted my colours to be translucent. It's very important with a cloud pour. So we're just going to stir that in, and you get this lovely purple. And you can see that I don't care about bubbles at all. My pressure pot is going to sort that out, no problem. Sebastian also picked these colours. He's gone for this purple and a blood red. And I picked the colours for the next 2 sets of pours. But for this first pour, this is what we're using. Now, the reason I'm going to use 2 reds is because this first red is a really nice deep colour, but it leans very pink. And Sebastian wanted blood red. On camera it looks really red, but in real life it leans very magenta. So I'll mix that up. And then what I'll do is with this second red, which leans very orange, we'll get to a nice blood shade. You can just about see it leans a little bit pink. You can see up the sides, but... And I'm just giving them a shake because sometimes they separate in the bowls. So there we go. I'm mixing in a little bit of the other one, and to me this looks like a good blood shade, but we won't know until I demold the dice, and I haven't done it yet. So there we go. That's the colour that I've gone for. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 pipettes, try and squeeze all the air out the bulbs, and let the pipettes suck up the resin. And the reason we're doing this is because I want to be able to get equal amounts of each colour in each dye. They will blend a bit in the middle because, as I said, with this first set, we haven't waited for the resin to thicken. But it will give us an equal amount. Now I'm making up the white, and because I'm making up the white, I'm actually making up enough for the next pour as well. So I've put more like 30 to 35 mils in this cup. And to start with, I'm going to use 5 drops of white alcohol ink. Now, when you're doing this, Sebastian, or anyone else, start small. I know that this resin will let me take 5 drops of alcohol ink. Not all resins will. So start small. Start with 2 drops and work your way up. So I'm just mixing the alcohol ink in. And you can see the alcohol ink doesn't blend as easily as my tints did. But I've decided that that's not enough. And as I said, I've got about 35 mils of resin in that cup. So I'm just going to add a couple more drops, because I wasn't happy with the consistency. But again, I know that my resin will take this. Start small. You can always put in more, but you can't take it away. Now, my white is still translucent because we're using alcohol ink. But I'm happy with the colour now. And we're just going to put that to one side. And we're going to leave that to thicken up by itself while we start filling the moulds. So even though my colours aren't thickening up because I'm using them straight away, my white will thicken a little bit. And all I'm doing is just putting the pipettes into the moulds and squeezing both at the same time to try and fill the moulds half and half with each colour. And now I've sped it up a little bit so that you can still see what I'm doing, but I mean, obviously it's just the same thing over and over again, where I'm just filling the moulds half and half. And I was having a little bit of trouble with this purple. It did not want to fill the pipette. But as you can see, all I'm doing, I grab them each time. I put them into the moulds, and when I put them into the moulds, I'm careful that I don't scratch the bottom of the moulds with the pipette. I do anything to extend the life of my moulds, but I push them into the moulds and then I squeeze gently so that I get half of one colour and half of the other colour. And that's all there is to it until the mould's filled. Nice and simple. And you can see when I get a bit impatient and overly squeeze them too hard that you get bubbles, but it's fine. And I'm a klutz and I will knock the cups over repeatedly. These are little Revel paint mixing cups and they've got absolutely no weight to them at all, which is great when you're trying to pick dried resin from the inside of them, but not so great when you've got things like pipettes resting in them. They tend to fall over a lot. So I just adjust if I think one mould's got too much red in or one mould's got too much purple in. I'll adjust with a bit more of that particular colour. I'm going to knock this cup over again in a minute. And now the mould is nearly full. And we're nearly to the point where we can start adding the white. I'm just moving my cups out the way because I was being so klutzy it was stupid. And as you can see, I have leftover resin, but have no fear, that does get used. I don't waste any resin, ever. It all gets used for something. So all of my moulds are now filled 3/4 of the way or just a little bit more. I leave a little bit of a gap at the top because you're going to add the white, so you need some room for the white to go in. So this is just me making sure that I've got the moulds as full as I need them. And I'll shortly move the red out of the way. Once I've apparently decided I needed more purple. The fun of voiceovers afterwards. So we're just gonna, move the red out the way. And now I'm gonna take the white. Now the white's had a little bit of time to sit there, but not a lot. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the pipette, we're gonna push it down towards the bottom and then lift it slowly upwards as we push. So we're getting the white to go from the bottom all the way to the top. We're just pushing it into the bottom and pushing very slowly as we lift it up and out. So we should get a good amount of white from bottom to the top. And you can swirl it any way you want. I've been quite methodical with these where I've just swirled in a clockwise pattern. Or anti-clockwise as the case may be. But that's all I've done. Now all I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit more resin to the top here for the ones that weren't quite full. I am going to put some resin on my lid on top of my numbers to make sure that I don't get any bubbles caught in my numbers. And then I'm going to put a little bit of excess resin around the top